Okay, this video is called Soy's New Nail in the Coffin. And I'm kind of joking about soy because people get all emotional about soy, but what I'm talking about is non-organic soy with regard to this chemical called glyphosate. Glyphosate is sprayed on non-organic soy. It's a herbicide, okay, and it's part often in some bigger package called Roundup. Basically, it's very much like the amino acid glycine. Glycine is the smallest amino acid. Its side chain is only a hydrogen. That's the smallest a side chain could be. The unique thing about glyphosate is they've added on a phosphate to the nitrogen. There's also a carbon there, but the key point is they've added a phosphate to the nitrogen. So instead of just having an amino group over here, there's a phosphate. Okay, now I'm going to show you some of the consequences of that. It's actually a big deal. Okay, now here's this lady, Senif. She's from MIT, real smart lady. She wrote an entire book about the chemistry of glyphosate. And it was very pleasant reading a small print book with no pictures about biochemistry. Okay, but it is a brilliant book. She's a brilliant lady. Now, don't get me wrong. She doesn't know that much about nutrition, okay? She's a little bit overweight and stuff like that. But, man, I think she got pissed off because she felt that kids were suffering a lot from the side effects of this stuff. It's one of the contributors to some neurologic disease in children. So she researched everything for decades, and it's a brilliant book. It really is a brilliant book. And she's got a bunch of lectures. You can just type her name into your browser. You'll find lectures of hers all over the place, and they're quite good. She's really smart. She really is. Okay. A couple quick points on organic before we get into the details of glyphosate, how it increases the risk of diabetes. Okay. If you check the urine for pesticides, you find far more pesticides and herbicides in the children and in adults who eat non-organic food. That's why I never eat non-organic food. Okay, pesticide residues or organic crops, a critical appraisal, there were 5 times less pesticides in organic food than non-organic food. Okay, the organic version of the Mediterranean diet had 91% less urine pesticide excretion than people who were not eating organic. Okay, organic diet intervention reduces urinary glyphosate in children. Within 6 days, they had a 71 to 77% drop in their urinary glyphosate, as well as its metabolite. So that's a big difference. That's why kids should only be fed organic food. Okay, and then the other thing too, all this stuff about GMO, it's ridiculous. Nobody needs GMO. It's just more BS to try to control the you-know-what, the food supply, okay? To starve the proles, rip off the proles, rip off the farmers. It's a bunch more crap. And the proper attitude is this genie of GMO should be kept in the bottle. It should not be allowed out. It's a very bad thing. Okay, then some people say, well, we need GMO to produce enough food. BS, it's just done for control. We don't need it at all. Here's an article to that effect. Organic farms have the same yield as conventional farms, and America would be a lot better off if there was a return to small family farms. We'd have more individual resilience, and people would have more knowledge of how to grow food. Kids should be taught in school how to grow food. They should be taught in school how to filter water. These are basic survival skills which all children should be taught. Instead, they memorize all this BS about, who knows what's a boy and what's a girl. It's absolute nonsense, okay? They should be learning skills that can help them for the rest of their life. School just distracts them, until they're 18 and sets them out into the world without any preparation, essentially. Okay. And they claim that all this GMO with GP was going to reduce herbicide spraying, but it's led to resistant weeds, and they're now spraying far more of this GP glyphosate stuff than they ever used to. Okay, and it comes with other chemicals in there. It's not just glyphosate. Okay, it's an inhibitor of the inner mitochondrial membrane transport, so it could significantly potentially decrease a person's energy, ATP production. That's bad. Okay. Now, we're going to get into the stuff related to soy, because they tend to spray soy. All the non-organic soy tends to be sprayed with this glyphosate stuff. They're sort of, go together, the idea of glyphosate and soy. But you know what? It's not just soy. It's also, they spray it to help the leaves to fall off faster on other crops. They spray it on non-organic beans. They spray it on non-organic oats, non-organic beets, and who knows what else. My advice is only eat organic. You should never eat this stuff. Okay, here's one paper, Associations between Environmental Glyphosate Exposure and Glucose Homeostasis in U.S. Adults. Okay, and what they found was glyphosate caused glucose dyshomeostasis, which is a fancy way of saying it caused insulin resistance and raised blood sugar. Okay, bad. It increases the risk of diabetes. And Senef had figured out already it was causing fatty liver. And fatty liver is like prediabetes, diabetes of the liver. Here's another one. This paper is rather funny. What this group of scientists found was that feeding mice or rats a combination of a high fructose diet and glyphosate was an excellent way to cause type 2 diabetes. And what are so many young people eating? They're eating all this high fructose sweetened garbage food that's been sprayed, the soy protein component, with glyphosate. In general, for processed food, soy is often the cheap protein source and it's sprayed with glyphosate. Quite often the cheap sweetener is high fructose corn syrup, and that's also sprayed with another toxic chemical, atrazine. Atrazine is really bad. It is also an intermitochondrial membrane inhibitor. Atrazine is also estrogenic. Okay? You know, estrogenic chemicals are fat storage. They tend to make you obese, which increases your risk of diabetes and hypertension. And then they inhibit your mitochondria, decreases the energy production of a cell. That's all really bad. This isn't food. These are toxins. Okay, another paper, impact of glyphosate on the development of insulin resistance in diabetic rats. Role of nuclear factor kappa B signaling pathway. Yeah, again, they showed that glyphosate causes insulin resistance. Great. And this time it's via the nuclear factor kappa B pathway, okay, in the liver. Okay, another paper on glyphosate and insulin resistance, in other words, diabetes. Glyphosate potentiates means increases insulin resistance in skeletal muscle. Well, that's where you need insulin sensitivity after you eat postprandial for the glucose to go into the skeletal muscle and be stored as glycogen. If you can't get that glucose into the skeletal muscle, it stays in the blood, and that causes hyperglycemia. Hyperglycemia, high blood sugars, then can be damaging when they're persistent for prolonged amounts of time because there's some cells in the body that can't control the rate of glucose uptake. They simply take it in a constitutive manner in proportion to its concentration in the blood. And that's where you get all the diabetic-related side effects. Well, some of them. There's a lot of things diabetes does, but that's what gives you diabetic retinopathy, diabetic kidney damage, diabetic nephropathy, diabetic peripheral nerve damage, diabetic neuropathy. Okay, and then it damages the small arterial endothelial cells. You get a diabetic microvasculopathy. You know, it's a disaster. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is glyphosate increases your chance of getting diabetes. That's bad. So all this people talking about non-organic soy, give me a break. It's sort of the two, you know, like twins that go together is non-organic soy with glyphosate. And don't get me wrong, there's lots of problems with organic soy too. I've given lectures about that before. But what I am saying is, you know, the two big subsidized food for making processed food are non-organic GMO soy sprayed with glyphosate and non-organic GMO corn sprayed with atrazine. Okay, and these are both major toxins. Okay, and that's what the average prole is eating, and that's what you're probably being served at your fast food restaurants. Absolute crap. Mitochondrial inhibitors, feminizers, things that increase your risk of diabetes. I mean, this is absolute garbage. Okay, here's another paper. Impact of glyphosate on the development of type 2 diabetes in adipose tissue, role of insulin-like growth factor, and tumor necrosis factor alpha. Okay, so what they basically found was glyphosate appears to contribute to the development of diabetes by altering the expression of insulin-like growth factor 1 and tumor necrosis factor alpha. Okay, do you get the joke? It does it in multiple ways, increasing IGF-1, increasing tumor necrosis factor alpha, increasing nuclear factor kappa B, causing fatty liver. In multiple ways, it's promoting diabetes, okay? It's not a coincidence, okay? So, yeah, I do think organic is worth it, and I only eat organic. And so anyways, I hope this lecture was helpful to you.